And by the way, the other thing to point out here is, and I have been pointing this out as of others, Biden I think is done. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the country having him as a presidential candidate, let alone the president of the country. It's crazy.
Good day, folks, and welcome to another edition of Lumberjack Logic. I'm your host, Neil Johnson. So that was Bill Ackman of Pershing Capital. He's a billionaire investor, and he is saying what everybody knows. But what really is going on here is I'm going to come back to Bill Ackman's clip. But right now, there is something big going on with Nikki Haley and Dean Phillips. This is their new plan to give you the Nikki that we all say never Nikki to. And this has the left in absolute flip out and freak out mode. And I'm going to show you some amazing tweets. This report's going to be a lot of fun. But the bottom line is there is a plan in place right now that they are trying to prop up on us, where either Dean Phillips is Nikki's VP or Nikki is Dean Phillips' VP, and it's going to be the new unity ticket, and they're going to run apart from the parties. This report is wild. First, let's listen to Dean Phillips.
Wouldn't all your listeners be more compelled by maybe Nikki Haley and Dean Phillips getting together on a unity ticket and actually doing for the first time, perhaps in our country's history, what most Americans really want, which is cooperation, collaboration, participation, decency, common sense, leadership? So I'm going to turn the question that way, because there's no way Nikki Haley will become the nominee in the GOP. And the fact of the matter is right now the Democratic Party doesn't want competition and seems to want to coronate Joe Biden. So I think the real question
So as an independent, let's say she ran as an independent, you would run as her VP?
I think it's a conversation that Ambassador Haley and I should have, if that's what this comes down to, in the event of a Donald Trump victory in this November, which is almost certain if Joe Biden is the nominee. I think any American who opposes that should celebrate, encourage, and inspire an alternative that can actually win and lead our country in the way that people want. And I think anybody, including myself, should keep open minds and hearts about that. I hope Nikki Haley does, and I think America could be very well served by some type of a bipartisan ticket that restores faith in government and, most importantly, demonstrates to the world that America can work together and restore its extraordinary brand around the entire world. And that's my aspiration, Chad.
So there you have it, people. The unity ticket of Dean Phillips and Nikki Haley, or Nikki Haley and Dean Phillips, however that would play out. They are talking about this openly now because they realize that Biden has no hope of winning, people. He really does. At this point, the Democrats even realize that, sensible Democrats, don't worry, I'm going to show you some tweets that are going to blow your mind, but the sensible Democrats know that Joe Biden can't win. He can't even invent enough votes to win this time. But wait till you hear what Bill Ackman continues to say as he brings up Nikki Haley, and then I'll show you his political donations.
And it's just going to get worse and worse. And he should, the worst of his legacy is his ego that prevents him from stepping aside. And that's it. It's his ego. And it is so wrong and so bad and so embarrassing. You talk to people. I was in Europe. I was in London a few days ago, and people are like, Bill, how can this guy be your president? And it's a bit like, again, I go back to my business analogy. Being a CEO is like a full contact sport. Being president of the United States is like some combination of wrestling, marathon running, being a triathlete. You got to be a serious physical shape and at the top of your game to represent this country. And he is a far cry from that. And it's just getting worse. And it's embarrassing. And he cannot be. And by the way, every day he waits, he's handing the election to Trump.
Bill Ackman is right. So I just want Joe Biden to stay in longer. And you know what? The whole thing that he's saying about his arrogance and his pride is correct as well. When you hear from people who are in the know in Washington, who are actually in that circle, Joe Biden is an arrogant person. He will not step aside, even though the Democrat Party wants him to, because they know that they can't win with him. That is why you are seeing all these people prop Joe Biden up and tell you how sharp he is, because they know Joe Biden won't step aside, and this is all they have to run with right now.
Because it's harder and harder for an alternative candidate to surface. Now, Dean is the only candidate left on the Democratic side that can still win delegates. He's on the ballot in 42 states. And the best way for Biden to step aside is for Dean to show well in Michigan.
And so you think there is a path with the delegates and all that kind of stuff?
100%. So if what has to happen is, New Hampshire, he went from 0 to 20% of the vote and 10 weeks with no name recognition. Mm-hmm. I helped a little bit. Elon helped. We did a Spaces for him. We had 350,000 people on the Spaces. Some originally 40,000 live or something, and then the rest after. And then he was on the ground in New Hampshire. And New Hampshire is one of the states where you don't need to be registered to a party to vote for that candidate. So it's like jump ball. And he got 20%. And that's with a lot of independents and Democrats voting for Haley. Haley, who I like and who I've supported, does not look like she's going to make it. Trump is really kind of running the table. And so vote for Haley as an independent in Michigan, maybe throw away your vote. I think it increases the likelihood that Dean can get those independent votes. If he could theoretically, again, he needs money. He could beat Biden in Michigan. Biden's doing very poorly in Michigan. His polls are terrible.
Okay, so I'm on the website, campaignmoney.com. You can go to Open Secrets. This stuff is easy to find. But William Ackman, or Bill Ackman, political contributions in 2020. Act Blue, Tories for Congress, Democrat. Kennedy for Massachusetts, Democrat. Democrat, 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 Democrat. Act Blue, Democrat, 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 Democrat. Act Blue, Democrat, Democrat. Susan Collins of Maine, Senator, Republican. And you all know that Susan Collins isn't a Republican. And he just said, now this is back 2020, so I'm looking at those numbers. But he just said in this video that he supported Nikki Haley. He's also supporting Dean Phillips. And so now you have to wonder who's kind of orchestrating this all. But look at how the establishment left is freaking out over this. So it's trending all over Twitter right now, Dean Phillips' name. So David Skadron said, breaking, presidential candidate Dean Phillips is floating a bipartisan unity ticket with Nikki Haley. Phillips, currently polling at 15% nationally in the Democratic primary, remarked that he is open to running as Haley's vice president. And people are having a cow over this. Dean Phillips is an unfunny joke. When it comes to who Phillips would pick to run with on the upcoming ballot, he said that he would consider a team up with Nikki Haley, offering Americans something that they rarely see, bipartisanship. And then it goes on here with the next one, Keith Olbermann. After this today, Dean Phillips should not only suspend his Trump beard campaign, he should resign from Congress. He's a scumbag. Cheyenne Hunt said, as someone who worked in Senator Klobuchar's office, it's clear that Dean Phillips has no idea that she is one of the most active and effective leaders in the Senate, not to mention the fact that she's just 8 years older than him. He is getting a liberal hate fest right now on X or Twitter. What's interesting I'm going to give you a quick story on Amy Klobuchar. She's my senator here in Minnesota. So back when Obamacare was going on, I actually called her office and I was polite. I mean, I just called up and said, I just want to voice my concerns over Obamacare. They laughed me off the phone and hung up. That's how much Amy Klobuchar cares about her constituents. I was not rude. I didn't say anything nasty. I'm not a fan of Amy Klobuchar, but she is my senator. So I called just saying that I had concerns about Obamacare. And the woman laughed me off the phone and hung up. So don't tell me about Amy Klobuchar and how much she cares and how effective she is. Now, we do know that Nikki Haley has said she will not drop out after she loses in South Carolina, because we know she's going to lose, and that she's going to carry this on to Super Tuesday. So do they then merge this ticket then after Super Tuesday? Is that the game plan? And then who's the VP? Maybe they go off the fact that if he picks up Michigan, then Haley becomes a VP. If he doesn't pick up Michigan, then Haley runs as president and Dean Phillips is the VP. I don't know, but don't kid yourself. They are planning something because it's all they've got. They've already got Kennedy stealing, and maybe that's the reality. They're seeing that Kennedy is pulling Democrat votes. But one thing that they don't understand is there is not enough uniparty Republicans to overcome the mega support for Trump and the Black Americans and the Latino Americans and everybody else who is now lining up behind Trump. Trump wins this election, hands down. It's happening. Get prepared for it. It's going to be glorious. We're going to have a great 4 years. So remember to support my sponsor, MyPillow. Free shipping until Sunday, and then it ends. MyPillow.com, promo code Lumberjack for big savings. Peace out.